Just be careful they don't go up your top.
Oh, and one thing. You've definitely got one on your right leg. Cricket.
So the meerkats, you see these patterns they have on the backs?
Yeah.
So just like we have a fingerprint, and like Humboldt penguins, they have individual spot patterns on their bellies. No two spot pattern is the same, just like these guys. So that actually acts, that pattern on their back acts as their own personal fingerprint. So even though they look exactly the same, whether it be just like a fraction of a difference, oh, that one's gone right down the furrow there. Whether it be a fraction of a difference, they're all individual. These guys are 7 boys, and the eldest is around 7 years old. Now, in the wild, they'd be lucky to see 7. It's around 5 to 7 years old that they've been reported to live in the wild.
Right.
But they are part of the mongoose family, and they're quite short-lived, really. Because we treat them so well in captivity, their lifespan is doubled. So around 12 to 14 years, you can expect them to live. Our eldest guy, oh God, I'm getting our eldest guy is the one with a slightly orange bum. Yeah, that one there.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, so we've actually marked
like
him
an injury.
ourselves.
Oh, okay.
So because they've been with us for years now, just for sort of like good standards of practice, really, they go into for a clinic health check. So they pretty much get an MOT. So they get checked for parasites, get checked on their condition, all their sort of like they get X-rays, just to make sure everyone's happy.
Yeah.
We also have sort of tests done and like bloods, and just have a general overall check. We found with him, everyone was in good health, bar him. So he's got slightly different markings here as well. It's because he's had several mats on his back. Now, to us, mats would indicate not grooming properly. And because he is our eldest, it might mean that maybe he's actually having discomfort, some form of arthritis or pain, stopping him from reaching around that well to groom himself. The other reason could be hormonal, and there could be sort of a biological reason why he just doesn't feel the need to groom properly. So what we've done is we've cut the mats off and we've marked him. They are microchipped, but these guys are very difficult and very stressy when you catch them up. It's not an easy task. So just to make it easier on ourselves, so we can identify him straight away and keep an eye on him, we've just marked him with a little orange dye.
Oh, that's neat, yeah. So it's visual so straight away.
Straight away, we know who he is without having to sort of traipse through everything.
Capture them.
So we're going to keep an eye on him. These guys are all related. They are all brothers.
Oh, wow.
And they coincide 99.9% of the time very well. But I mean, when you hang out with your brother all the time, sometimes they get annoying, don't they? So sometimes you're going to have arguments. Which they do, which is generally over food, who gets the best cricket most of the time. But they're pretty good. And the reason why we've got single sex groups is because they are doing really well in the wild and in captivity. And quite frankly, we run out of space in captivity. They are an iconic species, and these guys have always been bred in captivity and have been cared for in a way where they just wouldn't survive in the wild. So the ones that we have sort of remain as they are in zoological collections, and obviously are quite happy about it considering their lifespan is doubled. They're not stressed at all. They're very inquisitive. As long as you sort of give them what they need, they're very, very happy. They don't have a stop tap for food. That kind of instinct for sort of scavenging and sort of gulping down their food when they can is never bred out of them. In the wild, they don't get a chance to eat all the time, so when they come across food, it's imperative that they gobble down as much as possible. And that even when they were all bred in captivity, it's never sort of gone away. So we have to monitor their food very closely, because quite often collections have a big problem with their weight, and it's not uncommon to see an obese meerkat in zoos. They're sat down and they're all like a big blob, basically. The problem we get, and if you see one, there's more chances because they are feeding them meat, so they're feeding them like day-old chicks. These guys are carnivorous as well. They can eat a bit of everything, and they do survive off of sort of scorpions and snakes in the wild.
Nice.
As well as insects. But they do this because scorpions, snakes, insects, they all got a high water content, and they rely on their food heavily for hydration, because you get months and months and months in like the Kalahari Desert and then the Namib Desert where it's just water is just so scarce because it's so dry and arid. So they do rely on their diet. Now, they have been known to have day-old chicks in zoos, but there's just not, with everything else on top, as well as having live food a couple times a day and having 2 main feeds with pellet and a bit of vegetables and things like that. There's just no need for that, and that's where sort of the weight problems come into it then. There's very little nutrition in the day-old chicks for them, and it's just more fatty than anything. So we don't feed ours any of that at all. They get 2 live feeds a day, so pretty much a whole tub of this. And they get 2 main feeds, which has a special pellet that's been formulated for them, like a multivitamin basically, and along with that they get like vegetables like corn, aubergine, carrot, celeriac, sort of starchy vegetables that they have for roughage in their diet. Bit of fibre, keep everything moving.
But there are still zoos out there that will overfeed them.
I mean, it's quite easy to, and not by choice, it's more out of love, really. Like with your dog or your cat or something, like they're crying and you would have thought they'd eaten in like 2 days or something. You're like, oh, it's your birthday, don't worry. Just have a little bit.
I've got a cat, so I know exactly what you mean.
So I mean, if you're not always on the section, but if everyone's doing that and they're like, oh, I haven't been on here for a week, they can have a treat. They're having a treat like every day.
Treating them,
and it basically builds up just like that. So it can be, it can sort of creep up very quickly and you not realise it. And getting them to lose weight is then really, really difficult. It's true the saying, even for animals, that it's easier to put it on than it is to take it off. So we do monitor these guys' diet very closely, and they are all perfect weight for them, so which is great news for us. And the live food really helps in a way because they have to work for the food. It's exercise, it's enrichment for them. So it's not only physically stimulating, it's mentally stimulating as well. So it's best of both worlds for them, really.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. And I mean, they got those long claws, they need to use them. We've because they've clearly had a plan to escape recently, because I don't know how often you guys come here.
Didn't see more than me.
This
is my first visit.
They were digging for treasure, and they succeeded. They managed to dig out, and you're right there.
I had a cricket in my hand.
You got a cricket. You're all right.
Not entirely sure.
I think it's him.
Oh, hello. I didn't see him there.
So he's just standing on guard at the moment. And when they stand on guard like that in the group, it's called a sentry.
Okay.
So sentries are the guardians, and the sentry will stand guard for predators whilst the others are foraging around just be careful with your face, that's all right, for an hour. and then they'll swap over.
Oh wow.
So they do that just because they can, the hot weather and looking up at the sun, even though they've evolved to have these black circles around their eyes, it's like their own personal sunglasses.
Yeah.
The sun basically bounces off of that, reflects off, and so it protects their retinas, and they can sort of look up at the sky with no problems, like, unlike us who like squint and it can damage our eyes.
Retina burn and everything.
But so they sort of stay well and keep their eyesight and stay sort of alert. They have an hour at a time each, which is very clever, really.
Yeah.
It's only the adults that do it, and the youngsters won't forage until they're at least a month old. And then when they do, they're always with either their parents or with an auntie and uncle, one of the elders that are very experienced in hunting, foraging, and can look after them efficiently. They're a very tight-knit family group, and they are in the wild as well. They've been recorded up to between 20 and 50 members within a group.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're called clans, gangs, or mobs. Is what their sort of nicknames are. They got the mob because they are so protective of each other, and if one is getting predated on and it's kind of looking like they're succeeded, they'll all come together and will circle around the predator and will take it in turns to lash out and jab them and attack them, to actually mob them all together to basically encourage them to leave and save their family member, which is really, really nice and quite endearing, really. It's figured that within a group, because they have only one dominant breeding pair, that the brothers and sisters, they all sort of care for their young, because at least if their genetics don't get passed on directly, at least some of it will get passed on within their brother and sister. If they want to move on, or they get pregnant by accident, sneaking off behind a rock, then unfortunately they will get pushed out, and they will need to go and find or start their own group, or find their own different ones. Yeah.
The one did accidentally.
Oh really? Are they taking a keen interest in your tail there? Just be careful with your hands. When they bite, they can go straight through the muscle.
Yeah.
They need to go. I mean, in the wild, they live off of scorpions. Meerkats are one of the few animals that are actually immune to some of the most deadliest venom out there.
Wow.
One being the scorpions. When they're young, though, they can still get really ill from it. They won't die, but they'll get very poorly. So that's why they hang around with one of the older ones when they're learning to hunt and forage, so that they can watch their elder and sort of hunt them and kill them correctly without getting stung. Because that's one of the big problems when they're young. That's one of their favourite meals. So, according to David Attenborough, is a scorpion out in the wild. But you'll find them with snakes, lizards, any insect they can get their hands on, really. But do you guys? I know. Sorry, I'm jabbering on about them. Do you have any questions about them?
I don't think I do.
No, we covered quite a lot. I just keep because I'm learning
really
myself.
good.
I'm like spilling out all the information I'm trying to learn.
It's fantastic.
It's good for me, really.
Yeah.
They use their tails, one mainly for the balance, but also this black tag on the back here acts as basically like an indicator. So a sentry, when they are on guard, they will make little grunt noises and things like that when everything's okay, and as soon as some danger happens, there may be a sharp noise, or he goes quiet, and he uses basically his clicker. Do you want me to hold that while you get up?
Oh, thank you.
That's okay.
It's on
Record.
camera, so yeah, if you point it my way.
How do you take it?
No, it's just filming.
I think
Oh,
it's
is it
videoing,
So they then use their sort of tails as an indicator and like other warning calls, and they all dash off to cover.
Oh.
No. Just be careful with your hands.
Yeah, I'm not taking you to A&E today.
No. I was like, have to cut the dough short.
Yes.
And so also his fingers.
15 minutes of footage might be enough.
Yeah.